The point of this video, if the title wasn't a dead giveaway, is to go over and review the story, and only the story of Rocksteady's Suicide Squad Killer Justice League. I'm doing this because the only reason why I was even remotely interested in this game was for its story. Looking at Rocksteady's track record, all their games up until this point had been well-crafted stories with consistent characters that were treated with respect, wonderfully executed and explored themes, good enough world building and internal consistency. So I trusted the studio to give me a game with, at the very least, a good story. But they didn't. And in this video I'm going to explain why Rocksteady's most recent game's story is bad. So strap in and get your snacks ready, cause there's a lot of shit in this game. At the start, the writers set up a mutual mistrust between the main characters by making Amanda Waller perform a simple, basic psychological test on them that even a 2-year-old in kindergarten would see through. And except for Captain Boomerang, the whole squad knows that this is just a trick. But they still fight over the bomb ejection because they don't trust the others to not get it, communicating to us that they are not team players and have trust issues. Now, in a good story, this will be something that will get constantly brought up throughout the story, and made to be the main arcs in it. Their antisocial personalities will be the cause of multiple arguments between the squad members, their trust issues being constantly brought up whenever one of them makes a mistake, until the third act where, it will get resolved and they finally working as an actual squad win. But not in Suicide Squad. Here it isn't handled at all. It gets established and then it gets immediately resolved, so the actual point doesn't get delivered. After this scene there are no more scenes of them being wary of each other or struggling to work with each other. You're gonna notice the writers doing this a lot throughout the story. Certain plot beats get introduced in a scene and as soon as the scene is over, the beat gets forgotten about. Besides that, the intro is just fine. It sets up each of the main characters' distinctive personalities and gets them into Metropolis. It was a good decision to start the story in the middle of Brainiac's invasion. It puts the characters and the audience into the same shoe, which makes the audience connect with the squad instantly. But where they went wrong is that they never explained how the invasion started, how the Justice League got brainwashed. This is your inciting incident, the sole reason why the game's story happens, and they didn't even think to give it its own cutscene. They explained it poorly in the form of collectible audio tapes.
So, what are the odds that thing is friendly?
Slim to none. We need a plan.
I understand your caution, really. But that thing hasn't even fired a warning shot yet.
Diplomacy first. Lead by example.
This Brainiac wants to open negotiations aboard his ship. It's a trap.
I'm making an offer to you, Justice League. As my lieutenant, I will unlock your full potential.
Whatever happened in those other universes, Brainiac won't have this one! Barry, now!
I broke the sound barrier to get us out of there. If we'd stayed a second longer, that thing would have gotten us all. He got Kal. How did you even get Kal? We need a plan. Do you have a plan?
They did not think it was important enough to you how DC's most beloved characters turn into villains. It was an afterthought for them. In stories, if something doesn't happen on screen, that usually indicates that the authors consider it to be of zero importance to the main plot. But when that something is your main fucking plot, it is important. It doesn't matter what you think, and you cannot just hide it behind something that most players will not get or listen to. I don't care if the main characters never learn how they got brainwashed, but the audience at least should know, need to know. So why doesn't he just kill them? Here and now? He's supposed to be a no-killing rule Batman. He had no problem with taking out the cops without having this prolonged superfluous intimidation technique. Why doesn't Harley or Deadshot shoot him while he's just standing there? But when Batman finally decides to off them, instead of just pulling the trigger like any normal person would, he walks up to Harley, whom for some reason didn't get knocked out by Batman's punch, even though everyone else did. More importantly, King Shark did, and waits a few seconds for Flash to save her. You know, the whole point of a gun is so you can harm your opponents without having to be at an arm's reach away from them. Firearms are long-distance weapons, which is why when they were invented, they made swords, shields and bows obsolete. Writers will never get guns in stories right, will they? They just have to make the characters use them as close-range weapons. They just can't resist, can they? There are better, more efficient ways to build tension in a scene than having one of your smartest characters in the story act like a moron and break the audience's immersion by temporarily boosting your protagonist's plot armor. So Batman leaves them behind, fine, whatever, and they go back to the Hall of Justice, where, after a couple of failed attempts at humor, Wonder Woman shows up. Let's talk about her for a second. She, in this game, is forced to kill all of her friends, but just like with the Squad, there's no exploration of her character in any of her scenes. She just shows up, tells the Squad to fuck off, then leaves. Yes, I understand that she's a warrior, but she's not without feelings. Put yourself in her shoes. How would you feel if you had to kill your friends? Not good, right? You would probably feel conflicted and struggle to go through with it, right? We get one scene that, if you're 8 foot tall and reach for it, you could say that it gives us a glimpse into how she feels about it. One. That's all we get, which is a powerful and emotionally charged scene only because of the soundtrack and the voice actors' performances. But it's not enough in a 10-hour game. She leaps into the scenes for a couple of cameos, then quickly leaves like she's got a deadline to meet. And the drama that comes with having to off her loved ones, make sure you got some eye drops so you don't blink and miss it. You would expect a character as rich and complex as Diana to have something to say about the emotional weight of such a hard task. But no, she's here to clock in, save the main cast when their plot armors are on cooldown, and punch out. I'm not asking for a Shakespearean soliloquy, but a bit of depth to her character wouldn't hurt, especially considering the fact that she is a member of the Justice League, and the League's name is in the title of the game. Give us a taste of the toll this is taking on her psyche, show us some cracks in her facade, make us feel the weight of her burden through subtext-rich dialogue, and don't rely on the soundtrack to do your work for you. Why is she refusing to work with Argus? What is the in-universe reason for her solo act, and not teaming up with Flash while he was still human? And what is this about?
You have no authority here. Leave and take your criminals with you.
Huh? Last time I checked, Argus works for the government. Is the government. Did someone forget to brief the writers on how government agencies operate?
That's where you come in. Task Force X. Your new mission is to kill the Justice League.
People have made the criticism that these 4 being picked to take down the Justice League is dumb. And I understand why someone would believe that. I even agree. The way the game was advertised gave us the impression that this was gonna be their objective from the start.
Task Force X. Alpha target is in the open. Get your asses to the Metropolis Grand Hotel and engage before I have another reason to blow those bombs in your heads.
Oh yeah! Waller's stupid alpha target. Who are we supposed to be killing again? We're on a top secret assassination mission here!
So, figure out who we're killing yet? Oh, fuck.
But the criticism that they were able to actually kill the Justice League still stands. They shouldn't be able to do that, period. I always found the idea of Task Force X, a squad of villains being recruited to take down superheroes if they turn against the people they're supposed to protect, interesting, and a really good idea for some great storytelling. With Amanda Waller being essentially the same character as Batman, it's a logical extension of his contingency plan against metahumans. But in every one of these Suicide Squad stories, they always use these good-for-nothing, low-detail villains, rather than villains that would actually stand a chance against the heroes. Except for when they got Reverse Flash, that was a good choice. Like, what can Harley Quinn with her bat do against the Man of Steel? Or Batman even? What can Captain Boomerang do against Green Lantern? Or Batman even? What can Deadshot do against Martian Manhunter? Or Brainiac? Oh, Brainiac. I'll go into more detail about him later, don't worry. But for right now, Brainiac in this game is a perfect example of what happens when writers who aren't geniuses attempt to write a character that's supposed to be one. It doesn't work. Simply put, he acts like a moron. Why doesn't he just order Flash to rip out their hearts? Or Green Lantern or Superman to cut them in half? It's not like it would take more than a single second to kill these 4 losers. But the story needs to play out in a specific way, so all of them get insane boosts to their plot armors. So much so that by the end, they are literally wearing it. And the League have to be debuffed so they stand a chance against them. I think it was a great idea to have the League be in control of themselves while being brainwashed by Brainiac though. It keeps the tired tropes of superheroes being brainwashed into being evil from feeling tired. It doesn't reduce them to mere puppets, stripping them of agency in the story. Instead of being mindless zombies, they get to keep their personalities, which gives an opportunity for some drama between the League.
We're the first kid off? Huh? No, really, who put him in charge?
Brainiac for one.
Okay, obviously. But how are you going to bench the fastest man alive?
Rookie, you're letting Bruce, Diana, hell, those 4 Arkham rejects get into your head.
Stay on mission. Stay in control.
Welcome to the mission, Flash.
Yeah, thanks, Lantern. Look, I know I made Luthor spill his guts a little too literally, but maybe I can round up those 4 criminals.
Flash, you're going to stand down and recuperate.
Bruce, you can't be serious.
You lost your temper. Cost us our best lead on Luthor's informant. Stand down until I decide to put you back in the field, Flash.
However, where the story starts to stumble is in how this premise is executed. Task Force X's task of taking down the Justice League is something that should have brought out the best in both teams, but the squad's confrontations with each of the Justice League members feels glossed over. This is the Justice League we're talking about, Earth's mightiest heroes. There should have been, or at the least a hint, of some internal conflicts within each of the Suicide Squad members as they grapple with the idea of taking down, essentially, gods. But there isn't any of that. Why does Captain Boomerang hate the Flash so much? What does Harley think of Batman after the events of Arkham Knight? He is the reason why Poison Ivy died, but she never brings up the events of that game up to him. Floyd is something akin to a character, but not exactly, as his personal beef with GL is constantly reinforced, until his death, which I'll get to. King Shark is a shark. He's a one-dimensional character without any arcs or connection to any of the League members, or any of the cast actually. Which isn't bad, you're allowed to have steady characters in your story, but it isn't good either. There's Deadshot, who has a connection to Green Lantern, just Harley and Batman, Flash and Boomerang, but who is the Noway connected to? He's a god, so they could have did something with him and Diana. There could have been an interesting dynamic between the two, as they're both actual gods. Or seeing as how they characterized him in the game, Lex Luthor or Brainiac even. They are both, allegedly, geniuses, and Shark is a nerd in this game. He likes educating himself, so you could have done something with that. The foundation was right there. You could have had one of the protagonists have a relationship with the antagonist, which in return would have made both characters and the story better. Oh yeah, the story. Let's continue. After the squad of unemployables suit up and more failed attempts at humor, we get this shot, confirming that the army and the president are really, just really dumb. Now, I'm not expecting the military to go down without a fight, but did they seriously think this was the best plan of attack? An airstrike, when Waller has told them before that Green Lantern had
air superiority. If any conventional airstrike would be a mistake. You've spoken with the president, so this is a courtesy call, General.
Why doesn't Waller tell the army about the underground tunnel that they could use to get troops into the city? I know they wouldn't be able to do much still, but it would make the city feel more alive, make it feel more like an actual war zone. The game has been criticized for having a gigantic map that's empty, and seeing random military squads engaged in gunfights against these monsters and being able to join them would have solved that issue. It would have improved both the story and the gameplay, by making Brainiac's invasion feel more like an invasion. At the start they told us that Task Force X are the first to make it into the city alive, thanks to an underground tunnel system that runs beneath the city. And shortly after they arrive, Waller and Argus also arrives and sets up shop in the Hall of Justice. I'm assuming she used the same method she used to get the squad into the city. But why doesn't the army use the tunnels too? Especially after that pathetic airstrike. They have set it up, and now there's a proven method to get into Metropolis, and by making Waller inform the army about it, we get the payoff to the setup. That also benefits the gameplay aspect of the game. Because when you do something that surprisingly works, your immediate instinct is to do it again, right? Maybe even abuse it a little. But no, only Amanda Waller's special group is here, and the rest of the army is too busy getting converted, I guess. Also, we could have seen some of the Justice League members like Green Lantern, Flash or Superman fighting them in the distance as we traverse the city between/during missions. Similar to the game Cyberpunk 2077, with the shuttle launches that you can sometimes see, or Arkham Knight where they had thugs scattered around Gotham, and you could engage with them at any time. It would have also addressed the issue of them not just tracking down and killing both the Suicide Squad and Argus in the Hall of Justice. Like I've said, Flash could have taken these guys out in a nanosecond, but now they could have used the excuse that he's busy, and it'd be a lot more engaging if the player could witness that firsthand. But whatever. Speaking of missed opportunities, Oswald and Harley reunite. Oswald makes a snide remark at Harley, to which she replies with a weird face. And that's it. The writers miss another chance at character development, because there just isn't enough time for that in a 10-hour game. We also could have gotten some world building mixed in with it. I mean, aside from the bad expository dialogue telling us that Ozzy has been making weapons against metahumans, he also could have went into how he ended up in Metropolis. He could have given us some info on Nightwing or Robin. Maybe they drove around Gotham. Or maybe it's more lucrative to sell guns in Metropolis because Superman is not as rough on the bad guys as Batman. Something. Anything.
No. God damn. Son of a bitch. Lock me up. My daughter. Get me into this. With these assholes. I'm gonna kill you.
At least Deadshot has something going for him. He's by far the best part of this game in terms of character writing. More than likely because he's the only character that has any depth. He's pretty much the same Deadshot as Will Smith's from that one movie, only handled with more care. You can tell he wants to do right, not because he's a good person or anything, but because of his daughter. She gives him a relatable and compelling drive, something that the rest of the cast lacks. Harley's motivation could have been that she wants to get out of the Joker's shadow and leave him behind once and for all. Harkness, you could have done anything with him, because he's currently nothing. Nanaue could have been motivated to fight for his people. Something like he's scared that Brainiac is gonna come and enslave his family next. It's clear that Floyd has a motivation that actually drives all of his decisions, and it's something that slowly gets revealed to us as the story progresses. The writers managed to infuse him with a semblance of depth through his relationship with his long-lost twin of another race and his paternal instincts. On another positive note, they managed to land the joke. Finally.
Just shoot the bloody thing! The bullets would just bounce back and kill you. On second thought, shoot away, Boomerang!
I like that joke. It got me, okay? I thought it was funny. In the next couple of scenes, there isn't anything I found noteworthy. That is, until they get to LexCorp. And there's a serious scene that's, again, undercut by a joke right after it. There could have been a scene after this where we get to see what each of the main cast thinks about being slaves, and how they feel about Waller destroying the only machine that could have freed them. It's amazing how little the writers managed to achieve within a 10-ish hour-long story. I'm impressed. Something happens and then they move on to the next thing. Almost like they're trying to speedrun storytelling. Don't believe me?
You might be the dumbest.
Enter Poison Ivy. Not the same Ivy from Arkham Knight, mind you. She's a much different one. She's a child and was grown out of a test tube by Lex Luthor. Now, this isn't necessarily an issue. It could be used to explore the ethical implications of artificial creation. But do they do anything like that? No. That isn't necessarily bad either, with her being just a secondary character in the story and all. But it is an issue, because her character is really important to the plot. Without her, the rest of the story wouldn't happen. Argus and the Task Force X would have failed in their mission, and the Justice League / Brainiac would have won. And then Captain Boomerang does this to her.
Alright, look. But injecting a little girl with a brain bomb, that seemed like a lot to anyone else?
And not any little girl, my little girl.
It's not like we can let her do a runner.
Nah, that's exactly what it's like.
I would not wish servitude to Waller on my worst enemies.
Then it's decided. We're low, but we're not that low.
Hey!
I'm tired of being around and Daphne's hungry.
I did it, okay? I put the bloody bomb in her head ages ago.
What?
What?
I thought you'd thank me. I didn't trust her. She's a ranger.
And that's it, by the way. The fact that Captain Boomy Boom Boom turned her into Waller's child slave is just dropped right after this scene, and it's never brought up again in the story. Such a significant character moment for one of the main characters is played for a fucking joke and never acknowledged again. This could have added a really interesting dynamic to the squad members' relationships with each other, and Ivy's relationship with the squad, which, if explored, would have made the story better. Because think about it, if it was handled with even the slightest amount of seriousness, we could have gotten a more nuanced portrayal of these characters and some much needed deep emotional stakes. All of them were considering letting Ivy go, except for Boomerang. It could have opened a whole new layer of tension within the squad, and added to the mistrust thread they set up in the beginning. I mean, how can you trust someone that would enslave a child without hesitation? Harley, if she truly cared for Ivy, would have hated Boomerang for this, leading to an argument between the two at some point during the second act low point, where we get some backstory about Harkness. Maybe his dad beat selfishness into him when he was a child, told him that he should only look after himself, and nobody is gonna care about him, ever. Or maybe he just hates kids, or something. But no, Harley just punches him and then they move on. On top of that, we don't get to see how Ivy handles being trapped. Again, she just got free from Lex's lab. She just got a taste of freedom, and we don't get to see how she feels about being a slave again. Aside from her crying, which is, in writing, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. You can make your characters cry for any reason. Her agency is essentially robbed without any meaningful exploration or confrontation of being locked up again. And this is made worse by the fact that they made her a child. They didn't have to. Really, they didn't have to. They could have made the new Ivy an adult, which would have saved them from some of the criticisms, because when you're a child, your emotions are much purer, much more raw, and it's a lot more difficult for you to deal with them. So making her reincarnate herself an adult, like in Heroes in Crisis, would have made her a little better. But my overall issue with her character and the scene would still stand. And what makes this even worse than it already is that he does this off-screen, which is bad, in case it needs to be explained, because it misses a huge opportunity of characterization for Harkness. They could have made the character a lot more interesting by letting the audience see him grapple with this choice through subtle facial expressions and or dialogue before committing to it, which would have added depth to his personality, rather than keeping it off-screen and missing the chance to explore his internal conflicts, as well as giving the audience a reason to invest in a character. Could've, would've, should've. His character right now, and for the rest of the game, is just that he hates the Flash. Why does he hate the Flash so much? Were they teammates and Harkness is a hero turned villain? Did the Flash not save someone he loved? Did he spoil his greatest heist that would have enabled him to retire? We don't know, and the writers don't care enough to come up with any motivation for him. At this point I would have taken anything, because anything is better than nothing. But fuck all that, instead let's just have him piss on him. Lamau. He hates him because he has to, so they can have a piss on his corpse joke in the game. You have to establish a reason, any reason, no matter how small or stupid, for why a character hates another character in your story so much. So much so that he's willing to actually, literally piss on his corpse. Lamau. I think it says a lot about a writer's skill when they leave the heavy lifting to you, the audience. When they force you to fill in the holes in their work. You should never be made to do the filmmakers, or in this case, the game developer's job by consuming or playing their product for them. We're almost halfway into the game and we just got done with the first act. Can't wait for the second act low point in the story. Does this game even have one? Wait, oh shit, it doesn't have one. This is an improvement over her and Ivy's introductions. I mean, in terms of emotional storytelling. But boy oh boy is it stupid. First of all, this is so fucking dumb. Diana shouldn't be able to do this. Why is it that writers always seem to forget their speedsters see everything in slow motion while they're running? Everything. On top of that, they also have enhanced reflexes, so even if they can't see an attack coming, they'll be able to dodge it, just from instinct. They have ultra instinct. Maybe if it was Superman landing this hit, I'd be okay with it. Yes, I know they're on the same side, but they have established not only that they still have some amount of autonomy over themselves, but also that the Flash is eager to prove himself. And what better way he could prove himself than taking down Argus? Then Superman could have stepped in and told Flash to stop wasting his time on these losers, which would have given the squad the perfect opportunity to get away. I think this is a way better excuse for the squad surviving this encounter with Flash, than him just running away, even though he could just kill every single one of them, in an instant, Diana included. Plus, seeing the evil Justice League actually fight with each other will make the game more engaging. But still, only maybe, because it is true that Superman is just as fast as the Flash. But that's only true when Flash isn't trying to run faster than him. But Superman showing up this early in the story wasn't an option for them. They wanted to slowly build up to the big guy. Even though logically and in terms of storytelling, the squad should have taken out the big guns first. Superman, then Flash, Green Lantern and Batman last. Cause once they take out Superman and Flash, killing the rest of the league will be a cakewalk. Batman last because he's just human, but also because this was Kevin Conroy's last role as the character, so they could have saved him last and had this big tribute dedicated to him. And from a writing standpoint it would have been the better choice because Clark and Barry are the hardest to defeat in a fight. So taking them out will require a lot of resources, planning, and most importantly, effort, and you can just tie that into the second act. That is currently missing in the story. Nonetheless, the way Rocksteady builds up to the Flash's line is absolutely exceptional. It's voiced outstandingly well, animated beautifully, and it's believable, showing us that they're still in there, letting us see a glimpse into Brainiac's brainwashing, makes a real difference for the members of the League as characters. But the story should have delved deeper into that. The next time the squad and Diana meet, they act like they haven't just murdered one of her closest friends. They say nothing about the lasso freeing Flash from Brainiac's mind control, and the concept of the League still being conscious during it isn't fleshed out at all, resulting in this scene serving as a reminder for what could have been, the emotional drama that we could have gotten, the horrifying idea that the real Batman is still in there as he's massacring people and holding a gun, could have made for a very intense scene had the plot been handled with a little more care. But the story never ends up reaching even slightly the same emotional place this scene does, so it feels half-hearted, like a nice afterthought rather than a key component in the game's story. And it's a definite nail in the coffin of an already festering wound that this story is. The Flash is an amazingly bad boss fight, in the game where the concept of boss encounters are questionable as is. The fastest man alive, the Man of Steel, and a Guardian of the Universe are defeated by guns.
You wanna see what the speed boss can really do?
Not much from the looks of it, Flash. He can throw lightnings, turn any object or person into a deadly projectile just by poking them, or create strong enough wind currents to knock them out. He can make himself invisible. Oh, and time travel. All of them, except for one, requires no physical connection with the squad. He doesn't even have to go near them. So what does he choose to do? Fucking tornadoes and Hadoukens.
I don't need to touch you to tear you apart.
And since when does Barry Allen, the embodiment of the Speed Force, run out of it? Pathetic. Eobard will be so disappointed. The only ingenious thing he does in his boss fight is plant mines around the map. And why won't the rest of the Brainwashed League members help each other out in their boss fights? Why won't anyone come help Flash? Why doesn't Superman or Batman help out Green Lantern? Why does Superman only show up after Batman has been shot? He can hear a person's heartbeat, so don't tell me that he only heard the gunshot. They harp on the fact that they are a team in this game.
Welcome to the Hall of Justice. We've opened it up just for you today. And in the Heroes and Villains display, the Flash will show off some crime-fighting tools we've used over the years, along with some pretty weird stuff we've nabbed from bad guys.
As part of the Justice League, I'm grateful for my companions because together... Line.
And cut. You want to take that one from the top, big guy?
Is this really the best use of our time? Preparing for a parade?
Come on, Bruce. Justice Day is a celebration of everything we've built together for everyone we've built it for.
So why don't they work as a team? I know that for gameplay reasons they had to do it this way, even though they didn't have to, as they could have used any villains for the squad. And they didn't have to make it so Brainiac has wiped out 99% of the population by the time the story starts. But they could have given us an in-universe reason to. Like, Superman is in another country, Green Lantern is in another universe helping out another Brainiac that lost his GL, Batman is needed on the mothership, something like that. You might have noticed that I skipped over Lex's scenes, and I'll continue to skip over his scenes because he only serves to give the squad a fighting chance against Flash, same thing with his twin too. He's only in the story to essentially be a walking dispenser of golden kryptonite, almost as if they were strategically placed plot devices, precision engineered to offer TFX a fighting chance against the League. All I say that the soundtrack during the Earth 2 phase of the game is just beautiful. It's nothing short of a symphonic masterpiece that becomes more than just background music. As we traverse this broken universe, the soundtrack does a fantastic job of communicating to us the state this version of Earth is in. Its melodies perfectly complement the desolate landscapes we see, creating an atmosphere that resonates with the gravity of the situation. It enhances the overall experience, which is what makes a soundtrack good. It highlights the emotions we're already feeling because of the writing, instead of trying to trick or manipulate us into feeling a certain type of way. And Lex's voice actor does an amazing job at conveying the immense trauma of being the last human left alive on an invaded planet. The pain, the hope, the desperation, it's all there in his vocal nuances, all the while keeping Lex's core vocal mannerisms intact. Corey's performance is by far the best in the game. Aside from that, they don't contribute anything to the story, so why waste time talking about them? Even though I did just waste time. Green Lantern is next on TFX's bucket list, so let's see if his boss fight is better than Flash's.
You're not breaking my will!
How do you break a man's will exactly? Cause I know for damn sure it's not by shooting fucking bullets at his constructs. So they have these Yellow Lantern batteries attached to their guns, and it fucks up GL's constructs. Cause who needs psychological warfare when you can just slap a battery on your firearm? Genius writing right there. My question is, how do those tiny lanterns affect the bullets that are coming out of their guns? Is there some sort of lantern Wi-Fi that transmits anti-Green Lantern vibes to the bullets? The lantern is on the gun, not the bullets. Does it infuse them with Yellow Lantern light? But what the fuck does that even mean? Is this fantasy or sci-fi? Are these lantern batteries like those flavor packets in ramen? Do they infuse the bullets with essence of fear? It's like a cooking show, but instead of whipping us something that makes your mouth water, we're cooking up a cold, dirty, shitty plate of disgusting writing. Because nothing says intimidating enemy more than a bullet that's been marked in Yellow Lantern light. Fear is the antithesis of will, right? And who is the character that's known for fear? Aside from Batman. So why not use Scarecrow's fear toxin? Also, it shows just how uncreative these writers are, when they made GL create basic, unimaginative constructs like snipers, mines, and a giant version of himself. His power ring enables him to create anything using his will. His imagination is literally the limit, and mankind's imagination is limitless. Or if you don't have any, go ask your kids to help you be more creative, for fuck's sake. I'm sure a child could come up with anything better than giant rifles and a big statue. Anything they've come up with, I'm more than certain that today's hardware is perfectly capable of handling.
Y'all look pathetic.
Have the goal of the boss fight be to navigate GL's crazy obstacle courses by getting closer to him and throwing fear gas at him. This will challenge the player's movement skills and aiming skills, and force them to combine both systems. Deadshot's and GL's beef isn't explored. It's just a basic revenge story without any sauce. It's plain pasta at best. We don't see how he feels after his death. In fact, we don't see how any of them feel after they took out their big nemesis. When you achieve your goal in life, it can make you feel empty. The saying, "It's the journey that matters, not the destination," is a saying for a reason. Because it's true. It is one of the fundamental truths of storytelling. That's why you add a character like Deadshot to your story, so you can add your own commentary on the topic. Your characters should be explorations of your story's themes. These characters should have been the vessels to explore the theme of accomplishment, the emptiness that can come with achieving one's goals. Or, you can just include it and then forget about it the second their arcs are over. Does Floyd feel happy, accomplished, relieved that he got his revenge? Or does he question the very meaning of life now? We'll never know. They could have taken these characters and the audience on an emotional roller coaster. I'll repeat, taking down a member of the Justice League should be a pivotal moment, not just a plot point to be checked off. We need to see the psychological aftermath, the weight of their actions, the toll it takes on their souls. Like winning the lottery and realizing that money doesn't buy happiness, or a good and engaging story.
Way to maximize that potential, Sharky!
Soaring on our way, it looks like the emotional buffet ran out of budget for your scene. Not even the composers could do anything for this scene. Too bad, this could have been a really great and powerful scene that gave us insight into his character. The only positive note I have to add to this scene is that it was a good choice to frame their fight from TFX POV. Other than that, this scene, much like the previous scenes, is undercut from any meaningful moment by jokes that happen way too soon after the scene, or during it. I don't mind most of these jokes in isolation from the rest of the story. The issue is that they don't let the emotional scenes breathe enough. There are plenty of comedic films that handle serious moments without ruining them. They make it work because the timing of the jokes are right, and the dark scenes are handled with care. And the writers also haven't done the necessary work required to earn a big scene like this. We've only seen Wowo a couple of times prior to this scene, and every time she showed up, she just told the squad to fuck off.
I'm sorry, Kal-El.
Superman's name is Clark. Clark Kent, not Kal-El. The point of his whole character is that he's human, and calling him Kal-El, no matter whom it comes from, spits in the face of his character's story.
Kal-El, no!
Fuck off with that shit. Keeping with the theme of the story, as soon as a League member is dead, the character that was connected to him immediately forgets about him, like they got memory wiped by the Men in Black neuralizer. The way Batman is handled in this game is part of the same disease that has been plaguing the film industry for years now, and I hope this is just a fluke, and it's not about to spread to the gaming industry as well. In an interview with Ben Mantis, one of the people that was in charge of Arkham Origins, said this while talking about how they approached the character of Batman. It's not cool to trip over your cape. It's not cool to get stabbed in the leg when you're trying to save someone. That's not a heroic empowering Batman. We like to say when our character makes mistakes. They're also mistakes. Now let's see how they executed this idea.
Gordon, clear the line of fire!
Hold your fire. If he moves, take him down. You've got nowhere to run.
Move, Gordon! I'm taking him down!
Where's the Penguin?
I don't know.
Where is he?
I swear.
Damn.
Looks like the idea was well executed, because Batman is undeniably a fucking badass in that game. This is a good example of how a group of writers treated a character that they don't own with respect. Something that the writers over at Rocksteady didn't do at all. They constantly make fun of the character. They turned him into a 60s sitcom character, but that wasn't enough for them. They also turned him into an incompetent buffoon.
You've already lost, Luthor. I am vengeance. I am...
This is honestly just so fucking depressing. The constant barrage of jokes about the Dark Knight will make the fucking Joker proud. And they aren't just poking fun, it's a relentless onslaught that transforms Batman into a caricature of himself. There's a fine line between injecting humor into your story and downright disrespecting the legacy of a character. And they not only crossed that line, they did a whole ass fucking victory dance on it. What a mockery. Like, imagine if some random guy decided to piss all over the Mona Lisa. That's essentially what the writers of this game are doing to these characters. They have been given the privilege of being in charge of characters that they did not create, characters that don't belong to them. And they decided to piss all over these beloved characters that, again, they did not create themselves. Why is it so hard to respect the characters that you didn't create? Understanding the core of these iconic figures, appreciating their history, and building upon it with care. If you need proof of concept, Arkham Origins managed to do it perfectly well. That's Batman. That's the Dark Knight. That's vengeance and all of that. But this? Who the fuck are you? And how does Harley feel after killing the Batman? How does it feel to be the one to kill your ex-boyfriend's arch-nemesis? The person that your lover viewed more important than you? There's no telling, because there isn't any scene after Batman's death where we get a glimpse into Harley's internal monologue. Honestly, Batman was handled better in Batman v Superman. Even if Zack Snyder didn't understand the character, at least he didn't constantly shit on him. At least he didn't make fun of him. and made him look like a badass. Fucking hell, you know something is bad when he got me praising Zack Snyder's work. Jesus Christ. And then there was one. What an absolutely pathetic adaptation of Superman. The hero of heroes, defeated by this. I honestly don't know what to say about him, because there's nothing to talk about. He shows up and then dies. So I'm just gonna move on to the ending of the game instead. With Brainiac, we treated to generic villain speech, made of rambling, incoherent nonsense. There's no meat on the bone of his character. Brainiac comes across as unintelligent, no, even worse, uninspired. Rather than Arkham Knight's drama and elegance with Scarecrow.
How many more bones will you crush? How many lives will you destroy in pursuit of what you call justice? You are the product of everything you fear. Violence, darkness, helplessness. All that remains is for you to watch as I drag your beloved Gotham into oblivion.
Suicide Squad opts for a completely soulless cutscene, introducing a completely uninspired villain. Watch Brainiac, who was never really that good of a character to begin with, display the same dry, lifeless, monotonous mannerisms he has displayed in every single one of his adaptations since the early 2000s. He constantly speaks in a calm tone and uses big words to make our dumb brains go, wow, he's so clever, and totally not someone who has memorized the English dictionary. Or maybe he's so smart he's secretly putting on the guise of being a moron as a way to trick the other characters and us into underestimating him so he can get the drop on us. Nope, he's a generic one-dimensional, no pun intended, villain. He's the personification of the story as a whole. He has the ability to freeze the main characters at any time, yet during his boss fight, he just refuses to use said ability. Again, I know it's for gameplay reasons, but it also needs to be addressed in-universe. We need to hear the character's explanation for why he won't just freeze them in place. Give us something, even the cliche "I'm gonna play with you instead" will be more satisfying than this whole
I did want to grab you one at a time and run fast enough to burn the skin off your bones. Friction, you know? Ouchie, but I don't need to touch you to tear you apart. So let's play!
because any explanation is better than no explanation, because at the very least, it's acknowledged. At least acknowledging this plot hole would show a modicum of respect for the audience's intelligence. A single line of exposition, a sprinkle of justification, anything to bridge the gap between gameplay necessity and narrative logic. Then I can nod my head and say, well, it's contrived, but they acknowledged it at least. And because he steals the Flash's powers, all of my criticisms for his boss fight also stands for Brainiac's boss fight. It is entirely underwhelming. The main problem with him is that TFX knows nothing about him, nor do we. And this is the first time he has met these people, so they have no connection to each other whatsoever. And with nothing to latch on to and the story reaching its highest point in stakes, the ending of this game leaves us hanging. It's not something of a cliffhanger that leaves you anticipating the next chapter. It's more like we've reached the top of a lift hill in a roller coaster ride, and then it just stops, and there's no exciting descent. He keeps bringing up their quote-unquote conflicts and motivations, but it's all empty. None of it means anything, because we never got to see any of it manifest in the story. Like,
your new friends, you're worried you'll lose them, Boomerang. Join me and I'll give you the will to save them. If only Flash could see you now, Heartless. You'd mean something.
where the fuck did this come from? His actions and lines in the game never alluded to this, so where the fuck did Brainiac get this from? In conclusion, the game could have been so much more. With missed opportunities for dynamic encounters and a failure to capitalize on the potential of great world building, it feels like a rushed attempt rather than a well-crafted story. The game seems to rely on the allure of these iconic characters and flashy battles without putting in the effort to craft a compelling narrative and putting in the work required to earn those battles. The characters have hardly developed and scarcely suffered over the course of 10 hours. An ongoing alien invasion has no psychological effect on any of them, which is the main reason why these characters are all unbelievable. Every good story has believable characters, and they are good, light-hearted characters in stories. Just look at any classic Disney animated film, and all the characters within them are believable characters, because they act like real people. They get sad when something bad happens to them, and those bad events have the consequences that the rest of the story tackles. Believable characters create compelling stories. Every good story has believable characters. I do not believe, even for a second, that Floyd is A-OK after getting revenge on the guy that ruined his life. Or Harkness doesn't feel anything after killing the guy he has been obsessed with for years. Or the Harley Quinn doesn't just despise him for enslaving Ivy. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League allowed this lightheartedness to ruin his story. It might have been good had it not been written as a comedy. Its comedy destroyed its themes.
This Luthor's even slimier than the last one.
Ma'am, you're still on.
Oh, god damn it!
The game is amazingly tone-deaf. Over the course of this game's storyline, the writers have consistently proven that they are inept at emotional storytelling. I just wish we got characters with
feelings.
This game's story is a prime example of how you can have interesting characters and compelling themes at your fingertips, but choose to ignore them, opting for childish humor instead of a story with lasting impact. The game's writing is too lazy to be considered engaging. There's a great thematic basis for the game's name: Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. The name itself sparks intrigue. It instantly grabs your attention. It promises not just action, but exploration of morality, power dynamics, corruption, the blurred line between heroes and villains, and the possible consequences of playing judge, jury, and executioner, a group of villains forced to work together. There is a goldmine for exploring themes of redemption and the consequences of your actions, and the dynamics within the squad could delve into the mental toll of being part of a team where everyone is expendable. But none of that is in this game. To go back to my food analogies, this game is like ordering a gourmet meal and receiving a microwave dinner. Sure, it's edible, but it's not going to satisfy your craving for something substantial. Goodbye.